Hello, friends, and welcome back to the NECC. It's week number 4, and as always, on this lovely Friday evening or afternoon, wherever you might be in the United States or indeed Europe, it is time for Rocket League. Myself, Relic, am joined by Gaugan for the first half. A big shout out to Grissom and Peter on production today. Gaugan, it's always lovely to be back here on the NECC. More teams, more excitement. It's just a good old time, isn't it?
A good old time, but still the same old dependable Rocket League to carry us through into the start of the weekend. You'll love to see it, especially with this lineup that we have of matches available to us. Plenty of action in the Emergence division, which would be great to watch. These developing players in their collegiate careers, increasing their skill right before our very eyes. You honestly can't write up a better Friday night, at least in my eyes.
You got a nice crescendo going on as well, starting with Emergence and moving up to Champions with one of our last matches of the day. But let's take a look at the schedule in its entirety, because we've got some repeat schools, but not necessarily some repeat teams. We have ourselves Fanshawe, Fuel Academy Black. They're up against the Fighting Scots, which might very well, at least for me, Galgan, come out with one of the best school logos of the entire NECC. I mean, that's just incredible, really. Then we have U Ottawa Gold up against Fanshawe Fuel. They're back again, but with their red team as opposed to their black team. We then have Assumption University Esports, I presume, with UMass Amherst Black. Of course, that's the University of Massachusetts. And then we head into match number 4, that champions match that we promised. University of South Carolina Gamecocks up against Northwood White. A lot of teams, a lot of differing records as well to look forward to, but let's then zone back in on that first series, because the records, they're rather mighty, Gaugan, if I do say so.
They are indeed, and focusing in on that first match, like you said, Fanshawe Academy Black versus Fighting Scots. We're looking to the Emergence East Great Lakes division here, and if you take a look at that leaderboard heading into week 4, you'll see 2 teams at the top. In the second spot, Fanshawe Fuel Academy Black. In the first spot, Fighting Scots. It is a 1v2 battle here. Now, we have to mention the fact that Fighting Scots are here at 4-0 with 2 forfeit victories. Fanshawe Black are here at 3-0 with 1 forfeit victory. There's a common factor there with one of the teams that dropped out in this division, but let's let bygones be bygones and focus up more on how these teams have performed in the matches that they've played. You have the Fighting Scots, who have a +9 and a +13 goal differential in the 2 series that they played, both sweeps. It's a clean sheet thus far. They look incredibly dominant, and again, to say the same about Fanshawe Black, this first matchup here is bound to be entertaining.
It is. So let's have a little look at those lineups in a little bit more detail. As is the case with a lot of NECC rosters, they will have more than the 3 regular players that you'll throw into a Rocket League match. They indeed have 4 per team. And so with Fanshawe Fuel Academy Black, you've got Apple Pie, Rusty G, Tezu Coco, and BWR, I should say. Now, this, of course, is one of the teams they should be on 2-0. They are on 3-0 by virtue of that forfeit, as you rightly say. Again, a theme that's definitely permeates throughout the entirety of this particular division. But we've got 3 freshmen there, the sophomore being Apple Pie. They've got themselves a nice amount of majors between them: game design to graphic design, computer programming, and civil engineering. And they ultimately are in second place just by a bit of administration, right? So really what they're going to be looking for is the best result possible. But I get the impression that both these teams actually are going to lose a game, or indeed concede a lot more goals than perhaps they're used to up until this point.
I mean, I would hope, honestly, not that they would concede as many goals as they might not be used to, but just by virtue of the fact that, again, yes, 3-0, the forfeit win. We can keep bringing that up. But 2-0 in the matches that they've played, and Fanshawe Fuel Academy Black also have not dropped a game at this point. You take a look at their matchup history: 13 goals to 4 in their week 1 matchup, 14 goals to 6 in their week 2 matchup, and perhaps what's most impressive about Fanshawe Black is that all of their individual game wins, so of the 6 games that they've played this season, they have won each and every individual game by 2 goals or more. more. These are not close squeaks that they're getting in overtime or holding on until the last possible moment with a 1-goal lead. Fanshawe Black, and we could take a look at their lineup now and look more in depth about what these players may be bringing, but they are not a team to necessarily be dismissed here just because they're in the 2 spot behind the Fighting Scots. They're going to bring a fight of their own.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You know, their record speaks for itself. And again, it's only administration as to why there is a team even on 4-0 at this point. So really, they should be at the top of the league. You know, this is where they rightfully should be, thanks to their previous results. Daylight in a lot of games that they played. So it's not just about getting those wins, as you say, Galgan. It's about ensuring that they dominate in those wins, that they pull out enough of a lead so that even if the other team are finding goals, they're not going to find enough to be able to overhaul a game win. So that is Fanshawe Ultimate Esports League there, the Fuel Team Black. Let's move on over to the Fighting Scots, because I just want to have a closer look at this absolutely incredible logo once again. Isn't that glorious? It's absolutely brilliant. The 3 which they're going to be putting up here are Cynical, not that one, Tribal Snipes, and Airbear, I should say, a bit of a weird Nordic pronunciation there. Foregoing Tank Pillow, 2 sophomores, a freshman. Now, Game Development and Virtual World is a pretty interesting title, I think, for a degree. Very much with the times, let's say. But we have some more grass-touching, sort of degrees with health and physical education, graphic and interactive design. I think one of the most fun degrees that you could go after. The ability to sort of flex your artistic talent. I'm really happy for Airbear that he's doing something, hopefully, that he really enjoys. But let's talk about the fact that this team has also picked, as much as they had good results, Galgan, they have had 2 forfeits. And so they've got this bizarre situation where, because of a team dropping out of the league, they've already got a forfeit win from week 8. So they are like far seers. They've managed to have a look into the future, and they've already picked up a result.
And this can give them, a myriad of different paths to go down, whether they go down that of confidence and they think we already have 4-0 in the bag. We can sort of take a back seat here and maybe change up what we're doing in our play style, because, you get these teams that try to start the beginning of the season making their wild moves and then fall into a rhythm to win out. And then you have teams that build themselves that tower that, underneath the security blanket per se, and they don't necessarily have to work as hard towards the end of the season because they may already have a berth into the finale of whatever they're playing locked in and ready to go. So it remains to be seen whether the Fighting Scots are going to come at this, absolutely trying to blaze as many trails as possible. Another theme we see in this match as well, not just with the Fighting Scots, but with Fanshawe Fuel Academy Black, is the young guns. Once again, this is so pertinent in Rocket League because the younger players are always looked to for their mechanics, impact they make on the pitch. And speaking of, we are here presented with game 1 underway in the first series of the evening. Wasting no more time, Relic. I'm ready.
Player to watch out for, so we're told, is Airbear. We have a little interesting facts column for all of these wonderful players and all of their lovely schools. And the interesting fact alongside Airbear 1000 is God player. Not he is a God player, not we think he might be a God. No, just God player. And so certainly the impression that the team are giving us is that he is the one to watch out for. We will certainly see whether that transpires to be the case as we get onto the pitch. But already within the first minute, we have a solo standard special from Fanshawe Black here. A triple commit in net. They haven't been punished for it, but Penn West there, you might, Penn West, well, to give the Fighting Scots their full name, their full due. The Pennsylvania Western University at Edinburgh. Now you see where the Scots reference comes in. They're certainly looking like the team on top in these early stages.
Indeed. It's always a spectacle to see those triples come out. That's a little bit of a softer double as well from Fanshawe. So trying to get their defensive bearings early here, well past or Just barely, honestly. The first minute eclipse now as this ball leaks out towards the middle of the field. But yes, it does look like the Fighting Scots have all of the momentum on their side in the early goings. They're playing a very oppressive play style. Rotation's looking solid. Cynical's got an opportunity. Flip reset in hand? Sure, why not? We don't see too many players in the emergence area pull off those moves with a whole lot of confidence. Other opportunity falls by the wayside, though, and Fanshawe, they're just looking for some room here. They want some space to breathe, give them an ounce of relief, but every single shot comes ringing here from the Fighting Scots.
Yeah, they're giving them absolutely no time whatsoever, and to be fair, I think they'll be a little disappointed that they're not 1-0 up. They're crafting all of these wonderful chances early doors, Galgan, but still nothing solidly on target. Now, of course, this is emergence, and so we are expecting a lot more mistakes perhaps, but Apple Pie, no mistake there, a great save at the near post.
Always an interesting look into this, too. The idea of making the mistakes, and it's more so on what the teams can do to capitalize on each other's mistakes, because a mistake gone unchallenged might as well have not even happened in the first place. But there's the defensive misstep, and that's all it takes. Tribal snipes, well, snipes one. Top corner, the name rings true, and Penn West, they get the first goal.
That's some really nice placement as well. You know, when you've got a non-rushing defender, especially when it's an aerial challenge that you're going into, the biggest task is to not just avoid the defender, but then also to get that placement pitch perfect. That is certainly the case, and Cynical almost finds a second straight off the kickoff. I think it might be arriving as Air Bear attempts to go over Apple Pie, but no one's going to be heading over his crust, not at the moment.
This is a very dominant showing here thus far. You can see the ideas coming through for Fanshawe for the challenge, but they've let the net open on the other side, and it's Cynical to finish. Always been speedy here in game one on plenty of opportunities, and if you're not going to put up a defensive stand against him, he's going to take it home just as easily.
Two teams, two sets of sweeps. Someone is going to go home disappointed at the end of game number one. And on the early viewing, that certainly looks like Penn West, or should I say the one disappointed will be Fanshawe, because Penn West have been truly excellent. We have a 2-0 lead now. It could have been 2-0 as early as 1 minute in. Such has been their dominance. And Fanshawe, now's not the time to get too panicky, especially when there's a good opportunity here. Oh, Apple Pie just watching, and like a fireworks display, it just ended suddenly.
And Cynical now launches this one back every single time. Fanshawe just sent back into their own zone. I talked before this game started as well about Fanshawe's ability to win in dominant fashion, but you have to say on the other side, the Fighting Scots, they have large marginal victories on their side as well. They clearly are demonstrating an offensive step up here early on. They came prepared, game one firmly in their grasp.
Yeah, no divine intervention needed for the God player there. That was just good placement and a good positional advantage as well, coming in at the right angle to make sure that that shot was hit with power and was hit on target. I think no surprise to see ultimately a 3-0 scoreline opening up here, and Fanshawe have got a lot of work ahead of them. There's certainly shoots of hope here and there, and they have some good ideas, but we need to see a little more of a sharper threat in this final third.
It's all about the pieces falling in line. You can see them sort of moving into the general area, but you need everything to connect in one sequence. Top corner nearly there. The follow-up will be sent wide yet again. Better opportunity than ever for Fanshawe to try and hammer this one home, and sending it towards the target yet again, but more of a concession of the ball back into the hands of the Fighting Scots with under 60 to play as well. They're still looking for answers, still stymied here at the midfield line, trying to connect, but another double rings through, and a crucial challenge there is won decisively by the Fighting Scots right in front of the net. Trickles in, and oh dear, Air Bear from the demolition gets the goal.
Apple Pie doesn't choose incorrectly here. They go for the demo, which is absolutely right, but because of how sharp a stop you're coming to through a demolition, you're then still asked to, okay, get back going again and try and flick that up at least onto the bar, but there simply wasn't enough time. It was a bit of an overcommit from Fanshawe Black. Although that said, Apple Pie, sweet as can be. Look at this. I mean, they pick up on this mistake from Cynical, really the first mistake that we've seen in the midfield from the Fighting Scots. That's gorgeous.
That's true pace right there, and it's what you love to see. Maybe too little too late, but I don't think we can really knock them too hard, because that's what you want to see as the series develops. As long as they bring that into the next couple of games, Fanshawe could keep the affair a bit closer. Just seem to have let this game one slip a little too early, but light at the end of the tunnel. Like you said, little shoots of hope here for Fanshawe. Not out of the woods just yet, as they will drop the first game of the series, but there's certainly a chance for them to come back in. It all starts with a stronger Game 2 opening.
I've got a lot of experience here from this season. I cast for the Sonics over in EURLCS, and this is a sort of vibe that I've seen a couple of times already this season, where you concede and then concede again and then concede again, but then all of a sudden it just kind of clicks. And this is kind of what happened for Fanshawe Fuel Academy Black, right? You have a first couple of minutes which are awful, your defense is all over the place, and then the enemy team ultimately scores, but that was a lovely finish from Apple Pie. And I think in that last couple of minutes, more opportunities were being fashioned, and better quality opportunities than perhaps we were seeing from the opposition. So I don't think there should be any fear going into game number 2. As you say, the pieces are clearly there. They've just got to put them together into the lovely picture that the puzzle forms.
I could not agree with you more, and I think, you know, for some people it may seem hypothetical to say that Fanshawe needs to come out more aggressively here and create more opportunities. You might think the answer is create more strong defensive plays, really keep yourself in line. And while that's true, Fanshawe have shown when they have the confidence to go for those kind of plays, they will create their own space and create quality chances. In order to score, you have to shoot the ball on target. We get back to this very simple, you know, concept that occurs in Rocket League, but it's very true. Fanshawe finding the opportunities for themselves will get them that much closer to evening up this series, but the Fighting Scots aren't going to go down without a fight of their own. Air Bear can't quite finish that one up. Bottom corner, good save there away, and Fanshawe survives an early scare.
Better defense, though. No triple commits. That is definitely an improvement from game number 1. Oh, but that's just a brilliant fake coming through from Ben West to open up the scoring this time around. It all starts with Cynical, and this is the shot that goes on target, but Air Bear actually flubs. You can see there in net, we had, who was that? Was that Rusty G? Yeah, Rusty G was expecting that touch from Air Bear, almost giving a bit too much respect to the opponent, and because there was no touch, it meant that Rusty G's pre-read was wrong, and the ball goes into the back of the net.
It creates this sort of labyrinth in front of the net. Good touch away here from Cynical, but again, the threat of what could be, and when the touch doesn't come through, all of a sudden the defenders have bought in a bit too early, and you can't blame them too much, but ball still hits the back of the net, and Fighting Scots get their start that they were dreaming of. It's still just past the first minute of play. Big challenge there, drop down, and Wagon has done well to deal with that one. Tricky to take away from the goal line, but at least gets it out to the mid. Another double up here. Fanshawe, they want the power, but oftentimes the power comes from throwing too many bodies at the ball at once, and they leave these little gaps that the Fighting Scots are able to punch through on the counter to the backboard yet again, though, and the deflection is not there, so Apple Pie punches home and ties us up.
You gotta love chaos theory at this level in Rocket League, where everyone's expecting something and then nothing happens. And that's exactly what Apple Pie has punished not once but twice. Of course, that Cynical poor touch in game number 1, which is what gave Fanshawe Black their first goal of the series. But here as well, a number of players trying to read the book, and then it turns out it's in a completely different language. It's a tie game, and Fanshawe, just straight from the off in general, looking so much better.
And the reads are so key, especially here in Emergence. Using the backboard effectively can be devastating because players of this skill level will try to go for earlier reads and have good touches. Cynical denied on the goal line. That's an absolute heater that's stopped right in its tracks. They're not out of it here by any stretch. The Cynical goes to the midfield again. You can see the control come through. And Tribal Snipes actually does a good job of controlling off of that push for a potential double. Air Bear as well, holding on, and Fighting Scots, they have this tied game state, a little chip in their armor. They don't necessarily like the feeling of it, though. You can tell they are getting very antsy to try and get this lead back into their hands as soon as possible. Tribal Snipes launches, and Apple Pie denies.
There's a very different feeling to this series all of a sudden. We've gone past half-time, it's one apiece, and Fanshawe look as likely to score as Penn West, which I think we maybe said for the last minute or so of game number 1. We've been able to say it for the entirety of game number 2. Much improved. Great to see. Another good chance goes a begging as Rusty G throws it over to the side, and ultimately their clearance is a lot better as well, and the longer this goes on, the more the Fighting Scots are going to be getting inside their own heads. Is this really happening? Well, oh, it almost did. Rusty G forced to pull out, but that was 2-1 on a plate.
Oh, but a big push back here, and the redirect is not connected in the middle of the pitch. So Rusty G has another opportunity to clear out. Fanshawe looking for ways to get back on offense. They're doing a much better job of limiting the volume of opportunities from Penn West on any given push here, but Cynical just too speedy on the sidewall, wins that one cleanly, but leaves it to Wagon, who will go for a second touch. And now, all of a sudden, again, you said it, both these teams looking a lot more even this time around. Wagon trying to set this one up, but bullied and bumped away from the play. All three strong there on the sidewall from Penn West, as well as Cynical tries to drive for the defenders. Big clear though. Backboard Apple Pie has a chance at a finisher, but no, it does not go uncontested. Wagon tries to center up, but nothing there just yet. 60 seconds, and it's getting harder and harder to tell who's got the leading edge in this game.
Oh no! Oh, it's like putting an ice cream in a microwave, but you thought it was the milk or something. You wanted a nice warm bowl, and ultimately you just melted your ice cream, mate. That's a real shame, because honestly, up until that point, as you say, Fanshawe maybe even arguably on top of the possession game and the actual chances created. To shoot themselves in the foot is such a sad moment, but I hope they can regain. They are looking brilliant.
I mean, the one positive takeaway is it was a very solid finish there from the back wall. Just need to do that on the other side of the pitch, ideally. But I don't know. I mean, with 30 seconds to go and change, I don't necessarily hate it for Fanshawe. I think a reset could be what they needed from all of the chaos. They did look like they had a solid bit of control, but now you can see they're all just wrestling against one Penn West player. It's Rusty G, though, off the sidewall, runs out of materials to get that ball going, so Apple Pie will be forced to make a touch against almost like a fade away. Wagon misses. Now it's all left to Rusty G. 10 seconds to go. Fanshawe one last opportunity. It's launched to the back wall. Could waterfall, but nice. Cynical denies and gets it past everybody from Fanshawe, who was pushed too far forward, launched towards their own net, and the ball hits the ground. Penn West, they survive game 2, one step closer to taking down Fanshawe.
To lose is rough.
Mm.
That's a pain. That's a pain that's not going to go away for a little while. But I want to commend Rusty G, really at the center of everything thereafter in a positive manner, trying to reinitialize the attack to try and give themselves a chance at an equalizer. And he wasn't panicking either. It wasn't any desperation in the body language of that Octane. And so, look, it's a shame for Fanshawe Black, right? It's a real shame, especially as that was easily the best that they've looked all series. But that's the thing. They've looked great throughout the entirety of game number 2. There is no reason to suggest that they can't carry this on into game number 3. And so despite the fact that Fighting Scots are on match point here, I think the series is far from over.
I would have to agree with you. I think that this is the key moment where the mental comes in, obviously, because coming off of the way that they lost game 2, you have to tell yourself that you're capable of doing great things, just need to find those sequences. And again, we get back to the central theme of Fanshawe just going for these opportunities a little too heavy-handed. They want to slam this ball into the zone, get the pressure started immediately from the rip, and that's great from a team, but not at the expense of leaving the gaps for the Penn West side to just walk in, get a first initiator to push the ball on target with a really threatening shot that you have to scream across the goal line just to save away to the corner and force a 50 out of that, and you're already disadvantaged again, and then it snowballs, and then Penn West is in the back of your net. It needs to be more decisive from Fanshawe, but that comes with confidence. We know that their physical ability is there, but they need to show us that they have the resolve to fight back and get an early start first and foremost, because the Fighting Scots, when they get the lead, they don't want to let it go. You try and punch back and they hit you 10 times as hard.
It's an interesting case study on the Fanshawe defense, because you look at the overall trajectory of that game. And, what you say about confidence, we saw it there in action because there were a few hairy moments for the first couple of minutes for Fanshawe Black in defense, especially that first minute where Fighting Scots were super eager to get that early lead and did eventually so. However, as that game wore on, with more and more midfield possession for Fanshawe, the confidence is naturally there because with more possession comes less opportunity for your opposition to score. And it was only one individual in a moment of madness which separated a draw potentially going the distance to overtime and what eventually happened, which is that was the last goal scored and that was the difference maker. So it's difficult. It's way more difficult to say, just keep going, you're doing great, and you will be great in this next game, as opposed to going out on the pitch and actually doing it, because those events from 5 minutes ago still did happen. This is where the coach and this is where the team, I guess, support structure is coming to the forefront, because it's their job to ensure, look, let's not lose hope here. It's a series. We haven't lost it yet. Yes, 3 wins in a row sounds difficult, but it's not impossible because so many teams at so many different levels of competitive Rocket League have done it before us. So why not us?
Exactly. And not only that, but Fanshawe has done 3 wins in a row to 2 of their previous opponents, just under very different circumstances. But to that point, again, going back to that mental idea of the team saying, we know that we can do this, we are confident in our own ability. As much as you love a team's ability just to play solid Rocket League no matter their opponents, you start to also think about the specific opponents you're up against, because Rocket League is always a game of adjustments against the opponent that you are facing in your specific series. So you've got to try and make those changes. Speaking of Fanshawe making the substitution, Rusty moved to the bench. It is Tezukako who comes on to the pitch to try and be the difference maker for Fanshawe as they look to take the first step towards the reverse sweep.
I was going to say, that was a longer break than usual, friends, and I think it's for good reason. They ask for a substitution, they stop the series in its tracks, they basically give Penwest a little bit too much time to think, and Apple Pie isn't going to put it away. Wagon really should have. Fanshawe Black should have the lead. They're going to have another chance now through Tezukako, and they're the double commit with Apple Pie. It all comes to nothing.
Everyone gets a look at the target, though, and like you said, multiple people should have hit it. Apple Pie, massive jump to make there. Very small reaction time to be able to save that one aside, but Cynical will go for the clear all the way down. And this is the thing, Penwest, again, Cynical specifically has been so strong on those initiating pushes. If you're on the side of Fanshawe, not only are you trying to play solid Rocket League on your own, you're trying to shut down what makes Penwest so good on an individual level and what these players are capable of. Cynical has been a stellar initiator and striker for the squad. Wagon trying to do it though, and all of a sudden, Fanshawe, they're looking pretty solid here. Past the first minute, they've got more quality chances on, at least forcing Penwest back further into their zone to relinquish a little bit of midfield control.
Yeah, mate. I have to give a shout out to Wagon as well, as much as I am a Sonics team stream dude. That's a gorgeous decal. The Rainbow Dignitas one?
Yes.
Wonderful. So good on you. And good on Fanshawe for the moment surviving the onslaught. It's always scary when Pennsylvania Western move forward because you always think that they are going to score. But they haven't, because Fanshawe have stood strong and they've had a demo. There's been a counter demo. And Wagon, with the rainbow livery, is going to set up the substitute Tezukako. And that is the first go-ahead goal for Fanshawe Black.
And we finally get a finish worthy of a goal here. It comes with Mad Max in the goal box, with demolitions raining heavy. But Fanshawe, they've got their lead. They've got their foot in the door. Where do they go from here, however, is Tezukako going to be happy to be the sub that came on to be the difference maker early on, but still 3 minutes to play. And we know that Penwest have been a squad to not shudder in the face of adversity. Now they've got a little bit of a deficit to work against, but Cynical gets them started. That one's wide. It will be controlled by Tribal Snipes looking for the centering pass, but Cynical gets beat by the 2 aerial defenders, and that'll be the end of the push for Penwest. They're forced to retreat here and defend yet again. Big challenge. Goes up to the crossbar, and Fanshawe much more threatening this time around.
It's one of the great pundit debates. Oh, I really don't hope that caught it. Okay, good. I'm glad Wagon was back there to save it. That would have been a really cheap goal to concede. It's one of the great pundit debates. Is it better to have a 1-0 lead early or a 1-0 lead late? Because with the early 1-0 lead, you gain confidence that you're ahead. With a late 1-0 lead, you're giving your opponents less time to equalize. But I think in Fanshawe's perspective, you wanted that early 1-0 lead just to get a little bit of confidence into the veins, just to basically reassert themselves as a team that is not just a part of this series, but is going to get back into it. They've now got the better part of 2 minutes to navigate Galgan, but Penn West is still certainly looking strong.
Absolutely. This is the thing, right, that Fanshawe, the reason why they would want that early lead is because Penn West will continue to push up and try and get aggressive just to tie this game up. The fact that you were able to capitalize on them in the early stages when they did give up a little bit of that midfield space. Bar down, though, goes Air Bear and Cynical trying to set this one up again. A disastrous outcome there. But now back the other way goes Apple Pie looking for that demo. Gets a bump anyway. Tezukako finishes again. And Fanshawe up by 2.
I cannot believe that Air Bear didn't score. That play was a power play. It was 2v1. They went for the demo on the keeper. The keeper feels bad, backflips out of pure fear, and then the shot isn't hit on target, or rather it is, but the woodwork comes to the rescue, and Fanshawe go right down the other side, punished with a power play of their own. That's what we want to see, but look at this again, trying to do those scraping runs here, Penn West, trying to build up the pressure once again. They know that what has worked so far should theoretically work again, but Fanshawe are seemingly more equal to it now than ever.
It's not working for Penn West. They're trying to take the power shots, and Fanshawe are just, they have solid defensive rotations, something that they were missing in the early stages of this series, but they've met every challenge and every save very well in their defensive half, and that has been the difference maker. Penn West are forced to innovate, and with little time on the clock to do so, Fanshawe are getting closer and closer to smelling victory for the first time. Very, very benevolent clear there. We'll see its way all the way down towards Air Bear at the side wall. Wagon has a demo in front of him, tries to pop this one up high. Tezukako goes for it. Air Bear, oh dear, missing at the bottom corner, but still, Fanshawe buying so much time on that sequence. Penn West with 20 to go to try and get 1 on the board.
1-0 is terrifying, 2-0 is daylight, and with daylight you can burn the clock, and that is what Fanshawe has done so beautifully well. Okay, they didn't get a third goal, but they are going to get one there through an OG. How about this for a statement? Match point, lose, and you are gone from this series, and they've gone and won by 3-0. I wouldn't want to be a Fighting Scots fan in this position, because that's very scary heading into Game 4.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. It was a little bit of a forced situation, but the own goal itself not too forced, just a defensive error. But we've seen that story before on the other side of the pitch, perhaps more interesting as well. All 3 of the goals for Fanshawe credited to the sub, Tezukako here. So we get to that question yet again that we always ask once a team makes a substitution. Was it the sub buff, or is there something deeper going on in this series? Because I don't know if it's enough for Tezukako to come on and get his name tagged onto all 3 of these goals. Something has to be going on for the Fighting Scots here of Penn West to step back a little bit, not play the same way that they did in Game 1 and Game 2. They've got to find that form again, because if we see more of the same in the rest of the series, reverse sweep looks incredibly likely.
Magnesium doesn't burn on its own. There is no chemical reaction without that extra, added element, right? And I think that is the case in a lot of Rocket League series that seem to be so very heavily going one way and then swing completely in the other. We can absolutely throw so much praise onto Tezu here, stepping in, and it's clear that this team has practiced with him a lot, because it didn't just seem like the rotations were better, like they were a lot better, and he was getting more involved down the other side of the pitch than Rusty G. Bad days at the office do happen, and it's possible that Rusty G was the preferred player going into this series, but obviously you have a big mistake there in game number 2. You have to clutch up, you got to win 3 in a row, and so maybe it's best just to take the player that has made the big mistake off, the roster, at least in the short term, give him a moment to breathe, take him out of the spotlight. And for Penn West, they just don't prepare for the oncoming storm that was Tezukako, and just how good this team could be with him a part of it.
But as this continues on, again, a reminder, Fanshawe not necessarily in the green just yet. Still work to be done and plenty of it. It would be a little more concerning in their situation had they not blanked Penn West in the previous game, but that opportunity clangs around between 3 separate players before being sent wide, and Tezukako touches this one down. It will be into the hands of Cynical. That's a dangerous position with 70 boosts. What's going to happen here? We know Cynical's been a bit of a maestro in the air, but doesn't get that one around too well. Tribal Snipes, though, picks this one up. Second touch, Cynical punches home, and the defense is left scrambled. Penn West get an early lead.
It's a rough one for Tezu there, right place, but the wrong touch, really. It's good patience from Tribal Snipes, honestly, waiting until Tezu is forced onto the ground. Sure, the original block comes through, but you have that Shadow Striker there to follow on home. 1-0 lead, Penn West, and that's going to settle a lot of nerves if there were any.
That's what you need to see from Penn West, the patience that you mentioned, because they are still power striking the ball. They want to get it moving as quickly as possible, but to be able to wait for a position where Fanshawe are not in the right defensive spot, that is the level of control that Penn West can really start to display here to end this series before we go to a decider. If they continue on the offensive path of control, possession, waiting for the critical moment to strike and score, they could give themselves a very decisive Game 4 win. Fanshawe, on the other hand, again, we get memories of what their defense was early on in this series. Very scrambled, triple commits, double commits everywhere, and just trying to reel themselves back in. But this is a solid counter.
Save.
Look at them. They've immediately generated the pressure back on, and Fanshawe looking to strike back.
Yes, it's moments where you're asking for individuals to step up as part of the team coalition. And right now it's Tribal Snipes who is stepping up above all else. Big save down one end, setting up a goal down the other. He is the difference maker as Penn West continue to stride forward. This is honestly the best offense we've seen from Fanshawe in game number 4. And it's another shot towards his backboard, but it's not going to go in field. Good coverage here from the Fighting Scots.
We've still got time to figure it out, though. Fanshawe at the middle of the field doing fairly well. Wagon punches this one up, and that's not going to do numbers, but Tezukako does get the clear out before being demoed. Apple Pie can't connect with it either, though, and this is a disadvantaged Fanshawe side. This is going off the backboard, but Cynical can't corral the touch. Now to the side goes the rest of Penn West, looking for more. Tribal Snipes tries to deflect, can't do so. That is a 2-on-0 pass shot score. Tezukako to Apple Pie, and we're all square.
Bizarre collapse here, and it's a total mistouch. I think after giving him so much praise, I think that was Tribal Snipes who just completely fluffs the touch. And once again, credit to Fanshawe, they're on hand to be able to punish it, but that's a real shame for Pennsylvania Western here, as they were really... They didn't have to push forward so hard, and they didn't have to try and pre-read everything that Fanshawe was doing, because Fanshawe were the ones who were missing everything in the air. Why would you try and go beyond the limits of your talent, at the moment at least, just to try and get a second goal? It seems, I don't know, it seems like they threw away the lead a little bit.
It's such a common theme, though, from players of this area.
Excellent.
Cynical, beautiful play there. The initial touch, defender was left completely stranded as Wagon just... I mean, there are so few touches you could take, and none of them would have turned out any better as Cynical, a pure path of destruction on the way to the lead.
The thing that Wagon doesn't want to do there is have a heavy touch that just ends up going into the goal themselves. You know, that's the worst case scenario. And so I don't blame him for wanting to take a softer touch, but Cynical so proactive there, getting the demo, nobody at home, and that is the blushes of Penn West saved for now.
Ooh, for now, but that one off the back wall nearly tapped home. It will be Cynical looking for a clear. Less than 90 to play, and ever so patient has beat 2 with no boost in the tank, but Apple Pie wins the challenge convincingly to almost erase all of that space that Cynical had bought. Air Bear, though, can't quite take to the skies with the limited boost in the tank. Now moving through the corner, denying the opportunity there is Tezukako, so sends this one towards the middle. Apple Pie looking for 1-2-1, bottom corner, not quite, popped high. Both teams left searching for these opportunities, 60 seconds to go, and still Penn West threatening the series finisher.
Yeah, Fanshawe getting technical, but not in the way you'd expect. When we talk about technical and mechanical gameplay, we usually think about flip resets and musty flicks and taking to the air, but they're keeping things really nice and short on the ground here, trying to take advantage of their positional knowledge, but they're running out of time, Galgan. Those plays are pretty at 3 minutes, 2 minutes to go, but there's only 30 seconds left, and they might go 3-1 down here. No, it's wide.
Oh, they've tapped it around, though. Plenty of opportunities, and you can see Penn West still playing for possession, even so far in the zone. They know that they can't get a clear against them from Fanshawe, because surely it would end up on target sooner or later. But now with 15 seconds, it's in the back of the blue zone, and they've got to start all over again. Cynical with a block, Apple Pie out to the corner. 10 seconds now as Air Bear looks to just deflect this one aside, but tapped down by Tezukako. Chaos at the top of the box. 4 players collide, but the ball goes the wrong way. Penn West with a 1-goal lead will let the ball hit the ground and secure the series. An admirable effort there from Fanshawe Fuel Academy Black. They can't get it done. Game 5 averted. The Fighting Scots 5-0.
That's not the cleanest game that Penn West would have enjoyed, but they got the job done, and that's the most important thing, is picking up those W's and ultimately accruing 3 in a best of 5. Yeah, I think Fanshawe, they had an excellent game too. And I just think that it was the individual mistakes and ultimately Penn West getting back into form, which is what contributed to their downfall. I think looking at the overall play of things, it would have been unlikely for Fighting Scots to lose this. I just think that their overall team synergy just a little bit better. The chance creation, not just in terms of quality, but the amount that they're putting forward as well, just that little bit better. And that's going to be a shame if you're a Fanshawe fan, because look, they played really well, but one of these teams had to lose, and Fanshawe were it. Now they got to focus on the rest of the season and try and beat every other team in their division.
And while one of these teams had to lose, both of them came in with spotless records. So at least Fanshawe can walk away knowing that they gave the Fighting Scots a well and true challenge. And I agree with your point there. If the Fighting Scots were playing any lesser tonight, this series would have been a lot closer. But I feel like immediately off the rip, the player that stood out to me was Cynical of the Fighting Scots. A clear, even half step, but I would argue a full step mechanically above the rest of the lobby, at least in terms of performance on the night of. It may be different if these teams rematch later down the line, but those it factors that the Fighting Scots had on their side are what is going to win them series like these. That's how they squeak out this 3-1 win, but still, you have to commend them. 5-0 at this point in week 4.
They're looking pretty handy, aren't they, as Fanshawe move down onto 3-1. But Fanshawe will retake to the field after this break, not in black colors, but in red. They take on Ottawa Gold, and that's coming up after this. Welcome back to week 4 of the NECC Rocket League with myself, Relic, and him, Galgan, of course, the lovely Grissom and Pito on production. We obviously had a couple of technical delays there. Hopefully all sorted now, but let's dive on into the lineups of you, Ottawa Gold, up against Fanshawe Academy Red. Now, you're probably like, hold on, Fanshawe, I heard that name before. Well, yes, because it is Fanshawe, just a different team. But we focus first on you, Ottawa Esports, with Tomahawker, Aircraft, and Ziolu.
Full roster of juniors as well. Going to be interesting to see what they bring. There's a whole puzzle of past results from these teams. You need to know that this U Ottawa side is 2-2. They do have a forfeit win on their side. Again, we're still in the Emergence East Great Lakes, so most teams are going to have at least one forfeit win on their side. That's just the nature of the beast. But here are the players you'll be seeing for University of Ottawa. Looking over on the other side and continuing this Fanshawe showcase, as it were, the Academy Red side of things. Not Leopard, not to be confused with Leopard. YZ Slides and Bean Seuss, I believe. Seuss as in
Correct.
Dr. Seuss. 2 sophomores and a freshman. Motive Power Tech, interesting major there, alongside 2 very familiar computer programming students. So we'll have to see if this red side is a bit more successful than their Academy Black counterparts.
Yeah, so the link threading these two teams together is OTSU Esports B team. Now, both of these sides have faced OTSU B with varying results. U Ottawa Gold managed to sweep the side, whereas Fanshawe Red did get to game number 5, but then ended up losing. It's actually their only loss of the entire season. So whereas U Ottawa Gold have lost 2 already, with their 2 wins being that against OTSU B and, of course, their forfeit win, Fanshawe have legitimately won 2 on the road. So it's often a trap that I feel that casters fall into, Galgan, where we look at that one result from both of these two teams against that other team that we know about, and we're like, well, yeah, U Ottawa Gold is obviously going to win. But then you dive deeper into their results and you realize that without that, well, I mean, even with, I should say, or without the forfeit win, Fanshawe's actually ahead by virtue of having more wins on the docket.
Yeah, more wins on the docket and more games played as well, because when you dive deeper into those results, like you were saying, on the side of U Ottawa Gold, they have a lot of sweeps on their card. They got a sweep victory last week. They were also swept by Fanshawe Black earlier on. Fanshawe Red, though, on the other side, all 3 series that they have played thus far have gone to game number 5. Will this be more of the same? Only time will tell. Certainly want to get out of this one earlier than that, but not if U Ottawa has anything to say about it. Game on underway, early chances. It's routine now for this Emergence division, but a big clear, and U Ottawa see themselves away.
I'm already a massive fan of Ziolu. To see the Takumi are out and about and having a good time is wonderful. That's a demo, and how that's not transpired to become a goal is beyond my reckoning, is beyond my comprehension. You have the demo play, the ball's lingering in front of net. How was it not put away?
Yeah, they're certainly going to look back at that one, but only for a brief moment. Obviously, plenty left on the clock to see more opportunities through. They're certainly being gifted a couple of possession handoffs here in front of the midfield line even, so Ottawa not devoid of chances, but Fanshawe looking for their own way out. You see Not Leopard coming through. An interesting thing I have to point out as well as we continue on about Not Leopard specifically, a deaf Rocket League player, which is incredibly impressive, because you think game sound in a game like Rocket League isn't all too important, but I think as you begin to climb the levels, you realize the importance of knowing exactly where everybody is from an auditory standpoint. It's incredibly impressive for us to be able to witness a player as good as Not Leopard here with such a ability to have to work around.
And are you ready for a Thanos snap moment? Because Z Malik, who's currently the substitute for Fanshawe Red, hasn't played since Season 1, which was 6 years ago? Oh
dear. It just... You start to reminisce of a more innocent time in the early stages of our game. I still love repping that established 2015 tag from time to time.
Same.
Just to let everybody know that yes, I had the game back in 2015, and yes, I am still champion. No, I am not going to get any better. Please stop asking me to do so.
All the while, I mean, listen, we've been having a lovely reminisce, and been having a lovely conversation about Not Leopard and Z Malik, but no one has scored yet, which is crazy, because both of these sides have had decent shots at net. Obviously, we had that massive one missed by U Ottawa in the first minute, but we've already reached half-time, and really the greatest credit that we can say to these two teams is that, hey, You've gone half a game without conceding. Is that all about to change, though?
Ooh.
No, it is not. Except it is. Tomahawker with an axe into the back.
The sneaky finish right there. Always catches you when you least expect it. I mean, it honestly was expected at the double tap, which is one thing. To have a player afforded that much space on the chance, you know it spells devastation pretty quickly for the defense, and Fanshawe learned that lesson the hard way as it was punched home. Ottawa get the lead here, not necessarily early as we're over halfway through, but a very deceptive touch there. All of a sudden, Fanshawe look to try and convert. They've opened themselves a little window here, but the crossbar shuts it just as quickly.
There is no rhythm to this game whatsoever. I cannot tell you who is in the ascendancy, even though one of the teams is 1-0 up. Quite frankly, Fanshawe could still score 2 goals in the last minute with a kickoff goal to boot. And I would not be surprised. There is hardly any teamwork between any of these players. In fact, it seems more likely that there's going to be teamwork between the two teams rather than intra-team. There's 90 seconds left. Ottawa mercifully have a lead, but I don't know if that will last for too much longer.
And you've got me now picturing all 6 players driving down the length of the pitch in unison, sort of holding hands and singing Kumbaya, just, you know, waiting for the ball to fall into either net. I don't think that's necessarily what we're going to get. As you see, a couple of screens and box outs being thrown on the sidewall to push this all the way down. Fanshawe, they've got the ball moving in the right area, but forced to pull off. Yet again, they want to wait for Ottawa to play into their hands, but Ottawa's coming through the midfield fairly strong here, getting opportunities of their own. Double misses. Tomahawker can't finish that one up, but flying in from far and away, Acraft connects and scores yet again.
So, I mean, this is a pre-read from like another zip code at this point. But to be fair, having the confidence to go forward, knowing that Tomahawk is at least going to put the ball back into the central area, it might be a pre-read from another zip code. But you know what, Galgan? The read connected. And that's a 2-0 lead. And surely at this point, despite how weird this game has been, I'd imagine that Ottawa may very well be home and dry.
Yeah, they can't be too upset. Those big reads, they spell confidence for the team, whether or not they always result in success in the back of the net. I mean, they've got the 2-0 lead to prove it. They don't really need to do much else to convince themselves that they can win this game. Big challenge, though, and you can see they're not allowing Fanshawe to have the better light of the day here to look for another opportunity. I say that, though, but that's a nice redirect to get over top Tomahawker, but waiting in the wings is AK Raft now over to the side wall. Less than 20 seconds to go, and now it's all about killing time on the clock. You can see playing it to a presumably empty side of the pitch. Sidewall, though, mishandled by the defense, and that's going to spell disaster for Fanshawe. Tougher to look for the first, let alone the second, with 5 to go. On the ground, and Ottawa looking to close up a clean sheet here in game number 1 as the ball does hit the ground. Ottawa, solid victory to start us off.
I am very glad as well that you managed to talk for a good solid 30 to 40 seconds there, because it allowed me the opportunity to kind of just zone in on why. You know, what is happening here. I'm trying to make sense of gobbledygook, and what I've discovered is that Fanshawe's midfield is struggling a lot. The reason why it seems to be such a mishmash of trying to read something and failing, and there's some shots, sometimes we're seeing that Fanshawe midfield fall apart before it really heads on to the other side of the pitch. If they do reach the other side of the pitch, then it turns out that they're actually pretty all right in terms of getting shots on target or trying to make something happen. But it's more luck to get onto the other side of the pitch than an actual sense of forcing the issue. So credit to you, Ottawa. Very strange game to deal with. They deal with it as well as they could do. And I feel as if they are the team that are the favorites moving forward. Then again, they might be about to completely prove me wrong, as the case is. Yeah, like direct shots, this is good. That's wonderful. A shot a little bit more to the left and a little bit more down, and that's 1-0 Fanshawe in 10 seconds.
They've come screaming off the kickoff. It's what you want to see, and it truly gets to the territory of the series where we talk all too often about games that could turn seemingly on a coin flip as to the momentum for either side. Fanshawe have started off blazing here, and that one has enough power. Not Leopard goes bar down and bounces a few times, but the back of the net is good, and they've got there first.
The kickoff really helped because they were already in the opposition half. And so they're already there. They can try and play their game a little more, and it pays off beautifully. I don't think Uotta were given a single opportunity to clear their lines. Such was the ferocity of the Fanshawe offensive rotation. They're going to try and pick up a second. I don't blame them for trying to pick up a second so quickly. If they can just keep on ripping off the kickoff, then why not?
Oh, and that's a 2-on-1 for Ottawa. They can't get the last pesky defender out of the equation, though, so they're left searching yet again. But even in the initial opportunity for Fanshawe, it took them about 32 seconds to score. That is somewhat typical for teams to get offensive stints that last that long, but you could argue that it's even more impactful when it happens at the beginning of the game, because you set yourself up for success from the rip, and you can tell that Fanshawe want to keep the ball rolling and into the back of the Ottawa net.
I've given up trying to figure out which of these teams is the best team, because this is why you don't read into the UT or the OTSU B result, because it's carnage, it's madness. It feels as if it's like, oh, I feel like scoring a goal. Okay, you can score a goal. Now I feel like scoring a goal. Okay, you can score a goal. Hey, you want a game win? Have a game win. Why not?
Very charitable players here on the pitch. It's an interesting strategy to approach a best of 5 with, but it'll probably end up helping one way or another for either side. I mean, I don't want to say that this is completely undecided until we get to game 5. Ottawa punching back. Tomahawker takes advantage of a slower defensive response. I mean, again, the threat of what could be Zailu, that is a honestly very solid touch, though. Gets the defenders guessing. Coming in for the punch home is Tomahawker. And Ottawa, they're not going down without a fight.
I'm living, I'm breathing, Galgan, because that's something that I can finally have some tangible analysis over. Essentially, that's just Beanzus, as you say, being a little bit slow to react. Aerial plays, especially when you're looking at like diamond, gold level, they are the most difficult plays to deal against, because if you've got one player on the opposition team who's great mechanically in the air, you're in big trouble. And Beanzus there simply had to jump up higher. Even if there wasn't much boost to utilize, you got to try and throw yourself in the way. Then again, you can also just throw the ball right down the other side of the pitch, and Not Leopard is going to pick up a third goal, and all of a sudden, Ottawa is back to where they began.
Oh, that's such a great finish, too. But the challenge sets it up. Not Leopard credited with the goal, but Beanzus doing such a solid job, because the initial touch there off the side wall was intended to favor the attackers towards the midfield line, but AK Raft just couldn't quite get the right angle. Not that it was any easier to hit from that position, but an unfortunate circumstance there. But even better on the side of Fanshawe. Great to see them taking advantage of a situation like that, playing forward on that opportunity and not giving AK Raft the space to try and get that centering pass off uncontested.
And as long as they keep on doing that, they will stay alive in this series. Mark my words. It's only half-time now, of course. And a miss, a whifty from both Fanshawe and Ottawa. Could have been 2-3. We stay at 3-1. And right now, Fanshawe Reds continue to look to, turn up the wick here. I've been impressed with Wisely slides and their moves forward. That's a shame from Not Leopard. That was another good shot opportunity. Goes wide, but they're going to reload the gun here. And they've set it up beautifully. Oh, a shame that it wasn't put away.
Beautiful movement, though. Deep in the box, the poise to control that. Plenty of players committing to this ball, however, to get it started for Ottawa, and looking for more, but demoed on the way in. We find ourselves back in the Ottawa zone once again. Under 2 to play, and just looking for their ticket through. They're really being stuck behind here, this midfield line, but finally big clear comes out. Are they up in time? Oh, AK Raft not around for the finish. Here comes Tomahawker for yet another punch. Doesn't come through. Is anybody else there for the shot? Sure enough, Zailu from the heavens takes it for Ottawa to get back within 1.
AK Raft really should have scored. Tomahawker was met well, actually, in the air, and Not Leopard touches that ball just a little bit too early. Ziolu there with the covering run, able to dunk on his opponent, find that second goal, and it took 3 bites of the cherry, but Ottawa back in this.
Certainly got their light at the end of the game 2 tunnel. Not that they're any desperate for it, but Fanshawe certainly trying to make their headway into this series. They've got plenty of looks, but people trying to punch home the ball in all the wrong places. Defense standing strong for Ottawa, now challenged out to the middle of the field, and This will be a real crucial juncture for Ottawa, how quickly they can move this ball versus wanting the control. You can see they're just trying to bait out Fanshawe as a defensive side, get them moving into a disadvantageous position, but Not Leopard will try to bring some control of his own to this situation. Big clear out, and Fanshawe get a little window with 50 seconds to go. They get a clear.
Yeah, Ottawa right now, their only limit is actual pure mechanical talent. They have the right ideas, but they don't necessarily have the ability to execute them properly, so they've got to rely on their rotations here. 35 seconds left, there's still time to work something.
Big touch up here towards the back wall. Fanshawe looking to put the nail in the proverbial coffin, but AK Raft will touch this one out. That is a generous pass out to the attacking side. AK Raft stays relevant for a save. Not Leopard comes through, and Fanshawe really bringing the hammer down, forcing everybody gone, and that is as good of a goal as you're ever going to see. You knew it was in from the moment Not Leopard let it go off the back wall. It's a fourth here for Fanshawe and likely a tied series.
It's a bit of a scuff touch, but it's a scuff touch that works in Not Leopard's favor, because Ottawa is expecting a bit more of a direct ball against the backboard to ricochet back out, because it's actually so light. Both defender and goalkeeper are caught out massively. I believe this is going to be number 5. Bish, bash, bosh. Clean-up job, 5-2, and a tie series to boot.
If ever there was confirmation about how much impact Fanshawe have had here in Game 2, just dismantling everything that Ottawa want to approach this game with, you've seen it right here. It is a solid finish here for Fanshawe against Ottawa, who you said were only limited by their mechanical abilities and how far they wanted to take things. They did not strike while the iron was hot. They've left it cold on the table, and it has gone and left. Fanshawe 5-2 here, the result in game number 2. Ball still aerial at 0 seconds, and it will go all the way to the box, but not for one final goal. Fanshawe, they even things up here.
So this felt like Fanshawe taking a step forward, where Ottawa very much stood still. We were seeing those same sorts of mistakes, even rotationally wise, from Ottawa, that opened up their defense a lot more than they would have wanted. Whereas Fanshawe Red, it seemed like everything managed to get an upgrade in some way. Defensively, a lot better. They were evidently communicating a lot more. They were finding each other on the pitch a lot easier. And when it came to that final third, their shots weren't just as good as last game. They were even better. Higher quality chances, high quality passes in field. We are now looking towards Ottawa gold for that response. I hope for their sake that they find it, because it feels like they've hit the glass ceiling at the moment. And if they have, that spells doom for the future of this series.
And I would look honestly to the other side as well with Fanshawe. Going into game 3, like, I don't necessarily want to suggest that the third game of this series will be filler content, but I'm almost more focused up on game 4 just because I'm purely amazed by the spectacle of Fanshawe always sending things to game 5. So I'm curious as to whether or not the results of game 3 will really change what Fanshawe does. You know, do we get a Fanshawe win in game 3 inevitably into a loss in game 4? That more so goes into script writing rather than actual analysis of this series. But looking back at game 2, I think it's within the realm of possibility that Fanshawe continue this role. If they do, however, though, and take game 3, now, this is something that I've been wanting to bring up, and we saw a substitution in the past series, but something special about a substitution could happen in this series, and I don't know if you're sensing this bit that I'm going for, but the bench player for Ottawa Gold, the one, the only, not really, but Violet Panda could be the savior, and we are a minute and a half into this game, still scoreless, if I believe that timer. Yeah, okay, so yeah, apparently the game, I was like, oh, is the substitution going to come in? No, apparently it's just a late start to join in the game. But look, you opened up, you joined our voice call before the whole broadcast even started, and you said, hello there. Well, let me respond to your Obi-Wan reference with another Obi-Wan reference. I have not heard that name in a long time. And listen, sometimes it's about flattery, sometimes it's about inspiration. Will we see Violent Panda number 7? Will we not? Well, we haven't seen a goal as of yet as we approach halftime. Still 0-0 between the two. Indeed. You know, it's all fun and games. Not necessarily for these players as they look to convince us here of being able to take this series in Game 3, because it's not filler content. This is a decider in its own right. You don't want to be on the back foot heading into Game 4, because that puts a lot of pressure on you to deliver 2 games in a row without any mistakes, and we know how crucial the mistakes can be. Speaking of, AK Raft launches one on, and the defense a little stammered as to how to get it. One demo, one miss. The second demo to come in as the ball hits the back of the net.
Oh, you can see there the last defender just trying to readjust. He realizes that they were a little bit too far forward, or maybe jumped a little too forward with the momentum that carried them a little further. A real shame there, and Wisey Slides trying to redress the balance here, not able to find that shot home. Beansus, this is a nice lift actually. Is there a striker on target? Well, yes, but also no, because AK Raft was in the way.
Yeah, really solid block there. Not Leopard has done a great job of breaking into the box and looking for those finishing strikes. So often from these emergent teams, you see that clinical striker shine through and be the difference maker for these sides. It has been Not Leopard thus far for Fanshawe, needing to find more. There it is, right as I say it. Speak of, Not Leopard gets us started and tied up.
And once again, it's Wisey Slides. You got a covering run there as well from Beansus, and the defense don't know what to make of it. So by the time Not Leopard arrives on the scene, all he's got to do is hit hard and hit it along the ground, and that should be enough. It was enough, and that's why we have a tie game.
And that's what's great to see from these teams, is not necessarily the matter in how the goal is shot and eventually scored, but what leads up to it, the setup, because we see this ingenuity with the teams, whether they go for demos, bumps, trying to clear the way. If they're the initiator, but they're able to just throw the defenders off their path with a threat of a shot that could come from them, all of that builds up and makes it more and more advantageous for someone like Not Leopard to come in and just punch the shot home, clear as day, to the open spot in the net. So that is the team play. It looks somewhat individual, or maybe a 1-2. We get a little bit of a mishap there, and my goodness, very, very gracious that one ended up wide.
And they say that there isn't ball curvature in Rocket League. I think not. Oh, I think that's a dangerous back pass for Ziolu there, but they managed to deal with it well enough, Fanshawe Reds, and there's only 50 seconds left. I don't know about you, Galgan, but I'm sensing an overtime from this one.
Oh, I feel inclined to say the same, but we're also getting a lot of boomer ball right now, and if one team steps a little too far forward, that's wraps. Oh, bottom corner denied. Not Leopard once more, but wisely backs off, gives a little bit of space, and now it's Wisey Slides' turn to come in. 30 seconds left, and leaving that ball all the way in. Beansus taps that one up, and Fanshawe, they are hunting. They smell blood in the water. They're looking for more. Midfield, though, and turn back. AK Raft looking for a quick turn, but it's just wide. 10 seconds to go. And again, the boomer ball continues, but neither side finding the net.
For such a nonsensical beginning, we've actually ended up with a real banger of a series here. Oh, and it's going to finish with a buzzer beater. Not quite 1 second. Technically possible to get a kickoff goal, but I get the impression that kickoff goal will not arrive. What a power play.
Oh, there is a tiny glimmer, but what of that goal? The hunting proves to be bountiful. The demo on the goal line secured, and that gives the goal. The shot not as fast as it could have been, but Fanshawe in a game destined for an OT banger. It ends with a banger in Fanshawe's favor, and they secure themselves a series lead heading into Game 4. So do we follow the script here of you, Ottawa, sending us to Game 5, or can Fanshawe continue this roll of momentum?
Well, but were it not for 1 second of absolute brilliance from Fanshawe, they had that power play saved in their backpack for sure. Fanshawe for sure. But look, you Ottawa were a lot closer matched in that game. I was asking for them to step up, to break through the glass ceiling that had appeared before them, and I think they did do that. It wasn't as much as they would have wanted. Obviously, they would have loved to have taken a win here, but I think that if they continue on this trajectory, there's nothing to say that they can't pick up a crucial W in game number 4. I mean, you said it yourself, man. The stats don't lie. This team, Fanshawe Red, they love themselves a game 5, whether it's by their own choosing or otherwise.
And Ottawa, the task is upon them to force the game 5 this time around. Fanshawe, you were Oh my goodness, early start here. What a save though off the back wall. Massive, and AK Raft connects for a clear back the other way off the sidewall, but a little too overzealous. That'll be the end of that push for Ottawa, but a good look out in transition. And now Fanshawe gets their own opportunity. They've let Wisey slides too far into the box. Near post is not safe. Fanshawe up first.
Hop, skip, and a pop. The hop from the Leopard, the skip from the ball, and the pop from Wisey slides. That's a lovely play in general. Not dealt with well at all by you, Ottawa, but you make your own luck, and that's exactly why Fanshawe are 1-0 up again.
And only 21 seconds to boot as well. So Ottawa setting themselves up with a bit of a hill to climb, but not out of the realm of possibility to do so. Ziolu looking for more. AK Raft, big clear, and sent aside. Fanshawe, something that worked so well for them in game number 3 was that continued possession. It may have not resulted in as many goals on their side, but again, getting back to basics, if they've got possession, Fanshawe, for extended periods of time, Ottawa does not have it, and they don't have the chances that they previously did earlier on in the series. So if Fanshawe can keep it within their own hands, back and forth on the passing plays, and make sure they stay out of trouble, they could be well on with just a 1-goal lead. Ottawa, though, they don't look too keen. They've been hitting this ball and hitting it hard to try and get it moving. Back wall, opportunity denied yet again, out through the corner. Ugly bounce, but AK Raft deals with it.
And look, the advantage that Fanshawe have not just is that it's not just the goal, it's what they can do with it, because the problem with a lot of collegiate rotations is, quite frankly, they're not that great at keeping goals out of the net. They are often very offensively skewed. And so Fanshawe now have the luxury, really, of being able to say, okay, let's be a bit more conservative here, try and keep the ball away from that Ottawa half. If we feel like we can put something together in the final third, then sure, let's commit 1 or 2, but let's not overcommit. The last thing we want to do, we can sign this series off in game 4. Why not?
And as hard as they hit the ball, it's a delicate balance to strike that you're talking about. Being conservative enough to understand. Ziolu, though, waiting at the top of the box, gets this one to fall. It's AK Raft doing a lot of work, denying the corner clear off the back wall, and there it is. One miss and you're done. That mistake, however difficult it is to swallow the truth of it, is so devastating there.
It was something I was saying about RLCS earlier. One mistake. It's so brutal, that league now, that one mistake will see you lose potentially an entire series. You can multiply that threat factor by 10 in Collegiate Rocket League, because if you make that mistake, you know that it might get punished, but it's more about the opportunities down the other side of the pitch. They are not as plentiful. These players are trying everything within their power to be able to make something happen, and something might happen here if there's a third striker. That's not the conservatism we were looking for. Wisey Slides had a great look there.
It's so tough because they want to give space to the defenders, let them play it to the midfield, but Beansus is getting in their faces now. A change of heart and change of pace to this match, but Fanshawe find themselves again back in the defensive zone. Big clear, and Tomahawker will be forced to deal with it again. This is a very slow response, but the pitch has gone towards the far post, and yet again, no curvature on that one. Not going to find its way in, but 2 to play, still all square.
I like to imagine there's a lot of curvature on Miss Lady Luck. I talk about making your own luck sometimes, but there are other times where physics are completely out of your hands and you just gotta hope and pray that there is something stopping the ball from going in the back of the net. On this occasion, Fanshawe get away with one, but Ottawa, that goal has given them a whole new lease of life. All of a sudden, so much more confidence moving forwards. They're getting away with defensive mistakes here and there, and with less than 90 seconds left on the clock, Ottawa appear back in this series. Are they going to get the goal here? No.
Oh, you can really see them starting to stretch, though, but Wisey Slides being patient as ever. 70 boost in the tank, looking for more. Gets this one centered up, favoring the attacker, but AK Raft over the top will make Fanshawe think twice about that opportunity. Ottawa starting to get aggressive here. Both these teams, it can be so difficult for players in the emergence to really control those redirects and those forward attacking players, those cherry-picking strikers who are looking for the opportunity. Speaking of, and it's Wisey Slides up in the air, looking for more. Bean Seuss as as well. This one, though, gets back out to the midfield, and Not Leopard has to stand very strong against Ottawa, who are certainly looking for more. They'll have to send it from their own back half, though, yet again, as time continues to tick down, and Fanshawe only gets stronger.
Fanshawe are just looking for that one mistake. They're waiting for you, Ottawa, to maybe get a little bit overconfident here. Maybe send 3 instead of the 2. They're looking for mistakes in the defense as well. They're poking, they're prodding. They certainly aren't out of this just yet. Is there another buzzer beater in them, however?
Oh, big launch. Not Leopard. Looking for more. Ziolu wins the challenge, but Beansus will send it back, using all the boost in the tank just to get back up to this ball. It's a soft one, but it's on target. Double to take it away. Not Leopard's far enough away that it won't immediately go back on. Time expires. Ziolu one last clear out. Wisey Slides puts it down to the ground. We've got game 4 overtime.
You, Ottawa, you're on your last life. What can you fashion from here? They win the kickoff. That's decent enough, but not Leopard. Again, you're just looking for these touches away from your opponent rather than fashioning anything too concrete out of defense. The longer that you can keep it away from your opponent, the more they're going to get desperate to try and rescue it back.
Not Leopard. Looking for more. AK Raft. They're pushing. Ottawa's got a good advantage here to start off this overtime. Trying to force game 5. Difficult predicament they find themselves in, and back out to the midfield. High pop will fall into the hands of Fanshawe, but what do they do with it? Everybody's screaming towards that sidewall. It's left up here to Not Leopard. Beats one, but the defense stands strong, and Ottawa, for the time being, hold off. Wisey Slides off the sidewall as well. Oh, that's a big clear, though, on the defense. That's the scramble. Beansus there in time. Fanshawe, they're starting to get a bit aggressive here, you would think, leaving some large gaps that Ottawa would be privy to take advantage to, but they don't quite have the resources to get there just yet as a double goes off the back wall.
There's a lot of 50-50s, and the ball isn't involved in many of them. It's all about car bumps coming through, and it's, again, disrupting the rhythm of both teams. Neither is able to string together a decent passing play, which you'd imagine is what you, Ottawa, is looking to do. Fanshawe just looking for the more brutalistic method of heading straight through with a steamroller. Oh, and there it is! Wisey Slides wins the series for Fanshawe Reds.
And the defense gets caught looking every which way, but the right one trickles out, and Wisey Slides goes opposite side of the net to secure the series. Fanshawe, they have the Game 4 overtime ice. It'll be their first non-Game 5 result, and luckily for them, it is a win as well. Massive congratulations to them. They take down the University of Ottawa in 4.
I mean, it's a little bit unfair for Fanshawe, right? They've got 2 teams. That means there's 2 chances of winning. One has lost, sure, but great credit to Fanshawe Red. Again, that's such a strange game 1. Very bizarre creature. And then it's literally what I said at game number 2. We did see a bit of improvement from you, Ottawa, after game 2, but we saw so much more improvement from Fanshawe Red. Transitional play in particular, seriously improving to the point where we saw you, Ottawa, gain the upper hand with their offensive chances near the end of game 4. But there was always that thought in the back of my mind. On the counterattack, I think Fanshawe can spring a surprise here, and so it turned out to be.
And it's those moments in the series where teams just click. For Fanshawe, it was the end of game 2, just sending themselves, like, even though you look at that game and think, oh, it's garbage time that they get themselves the 4th and the 5th goal to get a 3-goal win in game number 2, it means a lot because they are essentially telling Ottawa, any resistance you bring, any attempt to make a last-minute comeback, that's going to be futile. We're going to shut you down. And Ottawa then, therefore, for the rest of the series, has that in the back of their minds. If they can't shake that well enough in a very quick moving best of 5, as all of these series tend to be, that's wraps. Fanshawe have it. Even in overtime, they secure it. Despite Ottawa having a plethora of fantastic opportunities their way, Fanshawe just stronger and better on the night of.
It's a wrap on the series. It's a wrap, sadly, with you and your time spent here, Galgan. We very much appreciate your presence. Always wonderful working with you. But the night goes on, my friends, and we'll be joined by Pyro J for the second half of this NECC Week 4 Rocket League broadcast. Series number 3 coming up on the docket. It's Assumption University Esports versus the University of Massachusetts Amherst. We'll be back with that after this. Oh, friends, I wish I could be the bearer of good news. I'm joined by Pyro J for all of a few minutes, sadly, because we have had the most ridiculously unlucky turn of events. And it's just how collegiate esports goes sometimes, Pyro. We have our third match with a forfeit. We have our fourth match with a reschedule. Hate to see it.
Yeah, Relic, I'll just let you know that what we heard first was, oh, I'm so sorry for the unfortunate news. I'm joined here by Pyro J.
Oh, no!
So the wording was definitely interesting, but a warm welcome indeed, Relic. Appreciate you having me for this very sliver of a moment here for my first broadcast on NECC. It's been a memorable one for sure. But Relic, I believe you at least have a little bit of knowledge to show or share for the people that are tuned in now.
Yeah, you'll forgive me if my brain's not firing on all of its pylons, because it's been a long wait. But let us look back at what should have happened and what did happen earlier in the day with our schedule. Of course, on that schedule, you will not see our first series, in which, of course, we saw one of the two Fanshawe teams taking part today, Fanshawe Black, going up against the Fighting Scots. That was ultimately a 3-1 victory for the Fighting Scots, but it could have been a potential best of 5 going the distance on another day. Really fascinating series. And then for match number 2, we had the second of the Fanshawe squads in Fanshawe Red actually taking a victory also in 3-1 fashion over U Ottawa, with one of the most bizarre game ones I think that we have seen on the NECC in a long time. We do also bring you news of that third matchup, as Assumption will take the win via a forfeit from UMass, and that bottom one right at the bottom, it's South Carolina going up against Northwood White. That will still be played, but not on this stream, sadly, as that is to be rescheduled for a later time. And so, Pyro, I know that you're late to the party, of course. I apologize for my brain not being fully engaged, but I think ultimately some fun games, some fun times, and I think we all gained some memories here of that we will hold dear to us for the next few days or so. And hopefully next week we'll have all 4 matches played out, and every single one of them will be a banger.
Absolutely, yeah. And hey, listen, we're midway through that NECC league, right? So
yes,
there's bound to be a little bit of jumbling, tumbling, stumbling between the hoops that you got to get through here, and that's all right. That's okay. We'll all make it towards the end, and we'll all see who ends up being on top towards the end. Hopefully, Relic, when you and I are joined here on the broadcast stage, we're casting the action together.
I sincerely hope so, and that just about dunks the broadcast for today. Then a big thank you to Peter and to Grissom, who've had to sit with us through the waiting times. They've been wonderful, so please give them your love and support. I want to give a special shout out to Pyro J, not just because I was involuntarily rude to him, but because he's a lovely guy in general. Go follow him on his socials at Pyro J. Excellent Rocket League caster, definitely worth your time. I've just been Relic, and from all of us here, it's a very warm goodbye.